Welcome, welcome, one and all. Greetings, everybody. Today is the day. Greetings, lawful, everybody. Rowan, as we say, we have to do these things in stages, right? I get it. It is getting out of control, right? TikTok police, options, lawful, greetings, welcome, welcome. I know it is getting out of control. However, we have to move with intelligence, right? We can't jump the gun. And as I said, before, I am not looking to be a leader per se, right? I know we want to have you have to do it before you pass. Greetings, St. Mary. Lawful, welcome. Rankovic, welcome. Lawful, greetings. Barry P, lawful, greetings. Welcome, welcome. Wayne, lawful, greetings. Okay. So, we all know we are in a crisis, right? Oh, what's that? T. Give me 1 second, let me update the draft so that everyone will have access, right? Give me 1 second. So many changes had to be made all over the place, and I'm going to be sharing some interesting news today. So give me 1 minute. And let's get to our draft. Alright, so let us get rid of this. And let's update this. And let's make sure it works. Let's make sure it works. Okay, we're good. 1 second. All right. Thomas Sankara. Okay. So, welcome, one and all. It is finally that time where we talk about what has been done with the constitutional draft. First, again, as always, I am not a lawyer, I am not an attorney, I am not providing legal advice. Anything I say is my own opinions. If you learn something, good for you, right? So, the constitutional draft is complete, and like I mentioned last time, right now, Kem, lawful greetings. Right now, what we're doing is that we are drafting the companion section to the Constitution, which is the manuals. You see, the problem we've had over the years is not necessarily government. It is what exactly are they following, who are giving the orders, and where are the limits of power. That is really our core problem. So when we are talking about, whether it be police brutality, unlawful arrests, unfairness in the courts, high prices of attorneys, all of those problems stem from what? Government policies, right? Are you talking about Mr. Dunn in Portland? Yes. So when we have this issue, we have to look at a few things on why exactly we have these problems. And the first thing we have to comprehend is that we, the people, we are not included in lawmaking. Let me say that again. The reason why we have these problems is because we are not included in law making. So if we're not included and we don't have a say, we are automatically victims. Because just like somebody who have one big plate of food and you don't have none, they, in many cases, in general human nature, they are going to at some point take advantage of it. Right? So this is the reason why constitutional drafting was instituted, so that we the people can say, what do we really want from the law? What do we really want to allow the government to do? Because again, many of us are not educated, or we're not privy to, we're not knowledgeable about what a government is and what it is supposed to be doing. So someone had to take the handle of the knife and go and carve out something that can benefit everybody. Again, I am not here trying to be a dictator or a leader or this one man that you can look up to, or trying to be any kind of political or head figure, right? I firmly believe that we should control the law. That's number one. And number two, government should always be decentralized. We should not have a figurehead. It is no different from a dictator, because anyone who has too much power, at some point they're going to abuse it. So we have to put a cap on so-called power, because right now what we are thinking is power is not necessarily power. So instead of trying to figure all of that out, the point of the draft is to ensure that we the people control the law. And if we control the law, then we cannot be abused. Right? So let us take a look at what we are talking about. So as you might have seen from the poster, and also the poster behind me, right? We're going to talk about what exactly this draft accomplishes, right? We're going to talk about what the draft accomplishes. Let's take the background off. So, number one, I have been researching what is the proper name to call a constitution like this. Because the constitution itself is supposed to be a living document, right? And if we have a living document, the substance and the power within the document has to come from some source. So the source of power in this constitution is the people. So when you have people coming together, you have something called a union, right? Something similar to a republic. However, it is not a republic per se, because in a republic we are entrusting certain almost unlimited power to a body. In this case, we are not. We have removed almost all government power, except what we specifically tell them to do. So we, the people, would retain all of our powers that are not delegated. Meaning, if we not give some office of government power, them not have it. It's that simple, right? And the same thing goes to follow the Declaration of Independence. For those who don't know what a Declaration of Independence is, it is a public declaration that we are removing ourselves from the oppression of the system that is currently in place. Okay? And if you are not aware of where to find the document, let us start from the top. Let us start from the beginning. For those who want to follow along, for those who want a copy of the document, for those of you who are interested in this, we're not going to call it freedom movement, we're going to call it becoming free as a people, you go to voiceofjamaica.com. That is the first step. Voiceofjamaica.com. Right? Once you are there, this is what you should see, what you see on the screen. You scroll down and the very first post will say New Constitution. So you click on that. And you scroll down and here we have the Constitutional Draft PDF edition. So if you want to, you can download a copy and you can also follow along. Okay? Now, the second page starts our Declaration of Independence. The grievances that have been shared with me so far. These are the things why we want to separate ourselves from the colonial government that is currently in rule. These are our grievances that cannot be fixed or they have been ignored. So when a government is ignoring the people and acting as though they have unlimited power and they don't answer to anybody, then we have no choice but to take care of ourselves. It's just like if you're in our house and every day you get beaten. And you don't know where you get beaten for. And you feel like it is uncalled for. At some point, what you going to do? You're not going to take care of yourself. It's no different. This is the same thing. So let us take a look at what we are talking about. Right? So the Declaration of Independence starts out. I'm going to read certain sections of it so you can literally hear what we're talking about. You know, because you have to bring legitimacy to what we're doing. We don't just come up so and say, get rid of the government and all that something. No. It is because of these reasons why we are declaring ourselves free and clear of the current colonial system of government. The unanimous Declaration of Independence of the people of Jamaica, right? Now, for those of you who are new here, the spelling of Jamaica is not incorrect, okay? The reason why this is the new spelling is because the current name is a brand. It is a copyright trademark of the British Crown. So we are separating ourselves from the colonial name. This is why we have changed the name or the spelling of the name to Jamayka, right? So this is the people's name, what we're calling ourselves as a nation. All right. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for a people to dissolve the political systems that have bound them to a government which no longer secures their rights, a respect for truth and justice requires that they declare the causes which compel them to separation. What is forcing us to separate ourselves from the government? We, the people, assembled in full authority, declare that all legitimate power originates from the people alone, and that government exists solely temporarily to secure the inherent, natural, and inalienable rights of every person. You notice it say? To secure our inherent right, meaning we're born with rights. The Constitution is not giving us any rights. It is just securing them under law. Right? These rights include life, liberty, security, dignity, participation in governance, and the full enjoyment of one's faculties without unlawful restraint. Whenever any system of government becomes destructive of these ends, fails to administer justice, denies participation, or acts in contempt of the people's rights, it is the right and duty of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute new governance founded upon principles that secure their safety, equality, and future. Prudence dictates that long-standing systems should not be changed for light or transient causes. Yet, when a consistent pattern of abuses, violations, and usurpations reveal a design to reduce the people under arbitrary authority, the obligation arises to act. The present system of governance has failed in its essential duties. Number one, these are the failures why we as a people would separate ourselves from the government. 1. It has denied effective participation of the people in decision making on all levels. I am sure everyone can resonate with that. 2. It has failed to consult the people about their priority in national matters. 3. It has created immunity within the very Constitution which was created to limit governmental power and protect the rights of the people. As we know, the current Jamaica Constitution Order in Council 1962 creates an immunity in Section 48, specifically Section 48.3, which says that we can't sue them or hold them accountable for anything that they do in Parliament. So they are immune from the same law that gives them power. 4. It has continued colonial rule in the courts and remained in the Commonwealth created by the British Crown, the former colonizers, while proclaiming independence from the British Crown. Right? In the public, we even celebrate a holiday to say we are independent. Right? We are free. But yet still, if you go to the courts, it is the same British system that is being used in the courts. Right? And we are a part of the same Commonwealth that the British created. Right? While political independence was publicly declared for Jamaica, the people occupying the land were never declared free and independent of all colonial rule. For those of you who don't know this, independence was for Jamaica. So basically, Jamaica was ruled directly by the British Crown, and then they got independence to be able to govern themselves within the Commonwealth, which is still created by the British Crown. There was never a declaration that the people occupying the land of Jamaica was free. 6. Let's bring it like a closer for now. 6. It has imposed obligations for the use of rights by requiring consent through mandatory forms and contracts without meaningful consent. Why we have to fill out a form every single time we approach the government? Why we have to fill out a form to use our rights, especially our right to travel back and forth, in and out, left and right, across Jamaica. 7, it has failed to provide equal protection under law by allowing immunity to unlawful official acts under the claim of the public good. And we see this all the time. Many people get murdered, and it is then said that it was in the execution of a lawful duty, so that individual is not punished. Are you here so then can't find them? 8, it has obstructed justice and weakened the accountability of public officials, offering only monetary tort in 1 out of 1,000 cases. Because to the amount of people that we hear get unalive, and it's very rare that you ever hear someone getting convicted or prosecuted. 9, it has exercised power beyond lawful authority, creating laws that violate the very constitution from which it derives power. 10, it has ignored repeated petitions for redress and reform. 11, it has eroded confidence through inconsistency, inequality, and disregard for the public good. 12, it refuses to make public the accounting of the consolidated fund, showing what funds are in reserve, its official spending, and other financials. None of we never see how much money so-called Jamaica have, or what the so-called public fund has. 13, it refuses to declare the necessity for high salaries and massive spending of our monies located within the nation's consolidated fund. 14, it has made acts and regulations purporting them to be general laws governing the people. 15, it has, through Parliament, enacted the Local Governance Act, attempting to convert each inhabitant of all parishes, territories, and constituencies into municipal corporations to circumvent individual protections and then claim criminal jurisdiction and authority over free people. For those of you who are new, you need to go look at the Local Governance Act, Section 5. 16, it has criminalized freedom of movement by vehicle, which freedom of movement is a right guaranteed under the previous constitution, without limitation on mode of movement, a protected activity. Such governmental actions created arbitrary road traffic acts and regulations that turn unintentional operation of a car or motor vehicle into criminal penalties and fines, with prison time if convicted or inability or refusal to pay. 17, it has turned the police force against the people, slaughtering and killing those it deems criminals without due process of law and without trial. 18, the courts administer actions it calls justice when no clear procedure is defined for everyone to understand, comprehend, and or comply with. None of we don't know what's supposed to happen when we go to court. You are simply given instructions when you go in there. It's almost like entering a dark room. You go in, you must come out. 19. The entire system of law is run by attorneys and former attorneys. Judges are not selected, appointed, nor voted for by the people, but rather selected from a pool of attorneys based on years of experience and other administrative factors. 20. Judges have twisted the plain language of the Constitution beyond its plain meaning, claiming its actions and decisions in the interest of public safety or public good, without contest nor constitutional mandate. Judges use judicial rulings, calling them case law, in future judgments as if they are statutory law, effectively removing the separation of power doctrine that ensures no department of government exercises more than a single inherent power. So the judges effectively create laws, calling them case law, in violation of the Constitution as well as pass judgment through judicial power derived from the Constitution. It has failed to provide independent and impartial courts to try criminal cases as mandated by the Constitution. The state is the complaining party in criminal cases. The courts are run by the state, and the police are also employed by the state, thereby creating an impossibility of impartial justice for any alleged defendant, where a party is also trier of fact or instrumental in instructing the jury. Justice is never guaranteed. The courts, mandated to be public except for extenuating or public safety circumstances, have been generally restricted and policed, allowing only those with active cases or their legal representatives to enter or observe the proceedings when the Constitution clearly forbids such restrictions. 24. The highest court is still a colonial court called the Privy Council. 25. The Privy Council, following its long tradition of colonial judgments, has made rulings that are controlling in future court cases, contrary to the very rights protected by the Constitution, such that evidence obtained unlawfully are treated as relevant to the furtherance of justice, rather than a violation of rights or a criminal act requiring punishment under law. Such blatant disregard for rights and the law allows police and all law enforcement to be empowered and ultimately immune from prosecution if the court deems them executing a lawful duty, even where illegality is uncovered. And that is what we see today, right? It doesn't matter how the evidence is uncovered. The court will admit it, saying that it is relevant to the case. So essentially, your rights do not matter. If the police feel like they want to run into your house, they can go in there, they can beat you up and do whatever and take whatever they want and claim them find evidence. And the court will only ask, is the evidence relevant to the charge? That's it. They don't care about your rights first. 26. The people have been treated as slaves with little to no rights, protection, or respect, and their only recourse is either suffer, hire an officer of the court, which is currently an attorney, to sue for money damages, or learn the law and attempt to combat the very system that caused the damage in a court of the same system. 27. Government, through each successive dissolution and subsequent resurrection through controlled voting, builds on the previous administration, ignoring wrongs, and continually makes acts and resolutions that are not requested nor demanded by the people. Such conditions demonstrate not isolated error, but a sustained departure from the purposes for which a just government is or ought to be instituted. History affirms that where authority is exercised without accountability and where rights are ignored or treated as privileges, public calamities and corruption inevitably follow. We have sought remedy through lawful means. We have raised grievances. We have called for correction. These efforts have been met with neglect, extreme delay, or continued injury. Therefore, necessity compels the conclusion that the existing system no longer derives its legitimacy from the consent of the governed. In accordance with the inherent and imprescriptible rights of a people, we declare that the political connection between the people and the present system of governance is dissolved. We declare that we the people are, and of right ought to be, a free, sovereign, and self-governing body, possessing full authority to establish a new system of governance that reflects their will, protects their rights, and ensures justice for all. We further declare that all authority arise from the people, that no power shall be exercised except by lawful grant of the people, that governance shall exist only to secure rights, not to diminish them, that all persons shall be equal under the law, that public officials shall remain accountable to the law at all times, with no possibility of immunity or pardon. In forming this new foundation, we do not act from ambition, but from necessity. Not to disrupt order, but to restore it. Not to diminish society, but to preserve its dignity and future. We affirm our commitment to justice grounded in law, equality without exception, accountability in governance, protection of rights for all persons, peace with all nations, and hostility toward none who respect our sovereignty. With full awareness of the responsibility before us and relying upon the principles of justice, reason, and the collective will of the people, we solemnly declare and establish this independence. And for the support of this declaration, we mutually commit to one another our responsibility, our effort, and our enduring obligation to uphold the system of governance we now bring into being. One people, one voice. Our sound. What do you think of our Declaration of Independence? Does this sound true to the cause? What says you peeps? Okay. Excellent. Very good. Perfect. Powerful. Absolutely. Like a dream. True to the cause. Well said. Well needed. So again, these are culminated from what we have been putting together, what everyone has submitted, what people are complaining about, what we see today in society. Joe says not what we're seeing in the courts. What do you mean by that? Yeah, man, next step's coming. Just hold the horses, man. Hold the horses. Education first, you know. Education first. Right? So that is the Declaration of Independence. And that declaration is based on facts. It's based on the reality that we are living today. Right? So it is of paramount importance that we declare why we wish to separate ourselves from the governing body, right? All right, so the table of contents section, we don't really go too worry about that right now. But what we want to focus on, you see, the next thing is the words and meanings. Joe said, what you just read isn't what happening like you explained. Really? Well, everybody have them experience, you know. Everybody have them experience. And if the general public is reporting that, that is what we are putting together. So if you see otherwise, share your evidence. Right? But the collective, this is what we are experiencing. Me don't know which part you there. But certainly clarify and share some evidence of what you attack. See it? So the words and meanings now, right? We make sure, say, number one, we not leave nothing to chance. We not leave nothing to interpretation. Right? Any word of importance that is used in this constitution, you can find it here, so in the words and meanings. Word, meaning, and interpretation. Right? So, any word that you want to find out, what does this word mean in the constitution? We have a list from A to Z, A to Z. Zin? Apple to Zara. So, and for those of you who are asking, or possibly thinking, right? What does the word purse mean? It is right here, right? And we have dissected and separate each word to not have multiple meanings. Zin? So that way, nobody can say we are corporation, nobody can say we are legal fiction, nobody can say the people are anything but people, right? So a person means a single man or woman, human being or natural person, whether male or female. Person means the singular form of the word people, right? Everything else separated. So what we have done is we have departed from the colonial system of law, where they conflate and put everything in a one big bucket and shake it up and call it law. Zin? No ambiguity. Zin? The next thing we have is our preamble, right? And this is where the actual constitution starts. As far as substance. So all of these definitions and all these different things, you know, this is just pointing you in a direction to know exactly what we're talking about. Now, we go to the preamble. Now, when you're going through this document, another thing you will find is that we have converted everything from legal language to plain language where possible. Right? We have converted everything to plain language so that the common man, the common boy, the common girl, everybody can look and read the document and understand and comprehend and interact and know exactly what we are talking about. Right? Because as a people, we can't hide behind any kind of ignorance or me never know anymore or it so complicated and this and that. No. Can't hide behind that anymore. Right? So the preamble is pretty short. I'm just going to read it for you real quick. We, the free people of Jamaica, united in purpose and equal in dignity, declare to all peoples, nations, principalities, and governments our inherent right to govern ourselves. All authority arises from the people and shall be exercised only with their willing and recorded consent. We're going to get to that in just a second. Right? We establish this constitution to secure liberty, protect natural rights, ensure justice, maintain order, and preserve the land and future of the nation. We reject corruption, tyranny, and any exercise of power not grounded in law or known to the people. This constitution is the supreme and sole source of lawful authority in Jamaica, binding all people, persons, and institutions. Written in clear language, it shall remain accessible, enforceable, and accountable to the people. In this, we establish a free and sovereign society founded on justice, responsibility, and equal protection for all. To perpetuate our natural and inherent right to form a government, ensure justice to all, preserve peace, promote and secure the interests and happiness of the people and of the family, passing to our posterity the enjoyment of liberty, we the people of Jamaica, relying upon the protection and guidance of our ancestors and the Creator, do establish this Constitution. Now, why do we say this? Why do we say relying upon the protection and guidance of our ancestors? If I never for the people them will come before we not there. It is our family lineage why we are here. So we have to give tribute same way, even though them never there so to experience this with we. And them make it possible so we can come around and can experience this point in time. Right? Exactly, we are going back to the original state of being. And we talk about releasing the ancestors before. Let us quickly go back. For those of you who are new here, you might want to pay attention at this point. All right? If you go to voiceofjamaica.com, see it there? Voiceofjamaica.com. In the menu, you have something that says My Voice. You click on that. Here you have the instructions to remove all of the restrictions off of your bloodline. Release your family from bondage. You alone can do it, and you alone it will benefit. Alright? voiceofjamaica.com/myvoice. Or in the menu, you click on My Voice. Alright, back to the constitutional draft. So that was the preamble establishing the Constitution. Right? Then we have the Declaration of Responsibility, Principles and Authority. Right? And this here is explaining what the Constitution is here to accomplish. I felt so free after doing it. Oh, they are releasing the ancestors. Yeah, man. Simple thing. We're going to get into more of them sitting there, but you see right now, the most important thing is to establish this Constitution and move forward. Right? Here, the Declaration of Responsibility, Principles and Authority explains why and what this Constitution accomplishes, right? You know, so for example, again, plain law, no hidden rules. You know, sometimes you end up in a court and sometimes you end up in a situations and they talk about doctrines, they talk about unwritten rules, they talk about certain interpretations and this and that. All of them something they get rid of. If it not write down in our Constitution, it not exists. It cannot be enforced. That simple. Right? It cannot be codified and written in secret language. Get rid of all of them foolishness there. So everybody there on the same page. Right? Open government. All actions of government must be recorded and open to public view. Right? So all of them something here. Accountability, protection of the land, civil participation, protection of the constitutional order. All of them something there. Is what it is establishing. Then we talk about the recognized rights. Now, you will notice this is an extended rights list that is enumerated. Right? We have, how much? 26 enumerated rights. Let us go over them real quick. Just the titles. We're not going to go through the whole detail. Right? We're not business about who afraid of accountability. That is not our concern because the people who are going into power, hey, if you don't want accountability, you stay out. Because guess what? As we will learn, anybody in government who violate the Constitution, they face criminal penalties automatically. Right? You have your due process same way. But guess what? Criminal penalties. Everybody. All right. So here we have what? Right to life and security. Freedom of thought and belief. Freedom of speech and expression. Freedom of assembly. Freedom from arbitrary arrest. Fair trial. Due process. Right? Public courts. Protection of privacy. property rights, protection from cruel and arbitrary punishment, right to education, right to representation, right to record government, right to participation, right to procession and demonstration, right to arms including guns and defensive weapons, right to all natural plants, women-specific rights, penalty for rights violations. Remember we talked about this before? This is the Ungu place me I stop here so you know. Remember we talked about this before? The current Constitution Order in Council 1962 has no teeth. There is no penalties in there when people violate that Constitution. We cannot have that. We have to list the penalties for violations just like how you have in the Acts of Parliament. We cannot have rights listed and you don't say what happens when people violate rights. Right? So we have penalty for rights violations, right to dignity, right to criticize government, protection of citizens abroad, respect of the state, duty to safeguard the motherland, right to join the military, right to labor and work. Again, we're not going to go through every single one of them here, but you can go and you can read it. Right? You can see exactly what it entails, which again, as you can see, they are very short in description, but they are very concise, precise, and powerful. Right? And here we start Article 1, where it talks about the establishment of government and its structure. Right? And it goes through and goes through. You know, we've been through much of this already, but it has been refined. All of the little holes, all of the sections that needed polishing, that has been completed. Some of them have been compressed. Right? So therefore, we don't have overlapping sections, we don't have unnecessary explanations, we don't have no expansion without necessity. Right? Now, here is another interesting thing that we have done. Remember, you know, when we have a system that we are departing from, we cannot be lazy. Let me say that again. When we have a system of governance we are departing from, we cannot be lazy. What do I mean by that? Just because we are used to the current system, that does not mean we should carry over anything from what was there before. We need to start fresh, we need to start new, and we need to put the things in place that we find to be a necessity. Because anyhow we bring remnants from the past, it is going to haunt us, because that is what has happened to every country in our history. Every country who bring their colonial past with them, they suffered. Because the system that was in place was not created to benefit the people. So the people cannot convert it from something non-beneficial to something fully beneficial. You're always going to have a rights violation and all kind of terror going on. Right? So, one of the fundamental things we have done, we are removing any kind of reference to a parish. A parish is a British construct. So we remove and replace that name with territory. Right? So throughout the Constitution, where you see territory, it means a parish. Okay? So that way, we cut the colonial ties. All right. So here we have a section talking about territorial organization, right? We're keeping the so-called divide of the 14 territories, right? Or the previous 14 parishes, but we're not calling them parishes anymore, right? Then we have something called territory commanders, right? So instead of having mayors and having MPs, no, we have a territory commander, right? And a deputy territory commander. And that is how the local governance structure would be set up. Similar concept, but completely different in roles, completely different in power, right? Then we have National Council of Territories, National Command. So all of the territory commanders would make up the National Command, right? And that way, if we need to coordinate nationally, we don't have this big gap of representation overlapping or having conflict where not necessary. Limitation of authority, right? No office or structure shall create law outside the constitutional procedure, exercise undisclosed or unrecorded authority, right? So what this means is that we are no longer allowing any institution to create policies. It is dangerous. That is where we are getting abused. If we allow anyone other than the people to authorize law, we start getting arbitrary violations that we can't even detect. Because many of us just figure say, I saw the system set up, and not realizing that it is the people who go into power, those are the ones who are passing these policies that end up violating and hurting us. So we remove that altogether. No more parliament. No more legislative authority to anybody other than the people. So they can't even create policy for anything. Everything is going to be encompassed within the Constitution itself. If it is not in the Constitution, you can't do it. It's that simple. Right? Removal of officials, term of office. We literally have everything in here. Public decision system, right? Every major decision requires public vote. We cannot have people sitting down in board meetings and town hall meetings and whatever. You don't even know if a town hall meeting will take place. And next thing you know, oh, there's a new law. Oh, there's a new requirement. There's a new tax. There's a new fee. There's a new restriction. Now you have to go at your yard 7 o'clock. All of these things are without consent. So we are removing that arbitrary power. If it is not voted on, it is not law. It's that simple. Right? And our voting systems would be secure, transparent, equally accessible, digital and live. No more ballot boxes. No more paper. None of them foolishness. A simple voting system. On the day of voting, the system is live. When you don't vote, the system go offline. It's that simple. We cannot have anybody deciding how much vote go in, how much this, what this, do what that. No. Live. 5 people vote, you see they vote them right away. On a screen. Broadcasted live. We can all use YouTube and broadcast live voting. Stability of government. This constitution shall not be amended for 1 year following adoption. Right? So we have what you call a stability period for the constitution. Right? We don't want to enact a constitution and in 2-3 months we are authorizing amendments and them something there. What we do is what? Just like the current government, we have to wait what? How much? 4 years before you can vote again? 5 years? We accumulate the grievances or the problems and we present them for voting, and then when the amendment time come after 1 year, we make the amendments, right? Unless it's an emergency, right? See, we have the exceptions right here. Unless there is an emergency or crisis, we should not be sitting there arbitrarily changing any law, right? So we have 1 year Then we have 2 years, and then we have a 5-year undisturbed period, right? So once that time comes, the stability period would be every 8 years. So no amendments for 8 years. Right? D says we have to ensure that the IT systems are protected from cyber attacks and malicious exposures. 100%. Right? But you see, like a system, like a voting system, it would be online for a very limited period of time. Right? And that would eliminate any kind of so-called hacking attempts that are attempted. Right? And the second thing is we're going to have local voting, meaning you're not going to have no internet. You literally are going to have to be on site. Just like how you have to go a voting poll, it's going to be a similar thing, but it's digital. Right? So the entire system would not be online for anybody to be trying to so-called hack into it. Right? And once you're done voting, it goes offline. It's that simple. All right? Supremacy and abolition of prior systems. Now, of course, if we're going to establish a government, we have to disband the other one, right? So upon adoption and enactment of this constitution, all prior systems of governance, laws, and authorities are void. This constitution shall prevail where any question of law or authority is in conflict. Only laws enacted under this constitution shall have legal effect. Right? These are the concepts and ideas are brilliant. I will return to Jamaica to support this. You think you see nothing yet? And this is, we're not even at a quarter of it as of yet, right? There is so much to be done. We have been held back. It's almost like everybody else are run and we have a 50-pound baggage where we are run with. We have been held back. And as you can see, even when we are held back, we excel in every single aspect of competitive nature. Little island Jamaica, people in with the panic. Anyways, right, so upon adoption and enactment of the Constitution, we get rid of everything else. Everything else. Duty of government. The government in Jamaica shall exist solely by virtue of the will of the people as a temporary institutional body to protect the people, maintain peace and order, preserve liberty, safeguard land and natural resources, advance positive and progressive knowledge, culture, and prosperity as the people deems fit. If you notice, this is people-centric. People-centric. That means what? We control the narrative. If the people them not say A, it no move. That's simple. Right? Then we have Article 2, legislative limitation and fixed law principles. So we talked about that earlier, right? But here it goes into deep detail when we talk about any kind of modification of the law. Right? For example, law in Jamaica shall be limited to 35 paragraphs or sections per article. Clearly written in English, clearly written in plain language, available freely to all persons by printed or electronic document. Right? Laws shall define general principles of conduct, not excessive classifications or unnecessary subdivisions. Right? Law is intended for protection, limitation of actions, public notice, and general conduct instructions. All public officials in the exercise of a power and duty may act only based on the written direction, limitation, and instructions with this Constitution. This is throughout the entire thing, where we talk about the limitation of actions by public officials. So there is no question about, oh, we did do that, or oh, it wasn't clear whether or not we had this power or this duty to do this or to do that. This will demand our collective critical thinking processes to improve. Absolutely. Do you guys have all 63 members to contest the next election? Such man is you're new here. But I get what you're saying. Damian, lawful greetings. We are not contesting in any election. The elections that are there are under British rule, British colonial rule. We are not participating in that system. This constitutional draft is for a departure from the colonial system. That is what we're discussing over here. I would imagine there is or will be strong collaborative approach among the grassroots movements. Well, let us see. Let us see. Prohibition of legislative proliferation. Right? No law shall multiply definitions beyond necessity, create excessive categories for similar conduct, etc. Obscure understanding through complexity. Right? That is our current system of law. It is so complex that it has so many interpretations of what something could mean. So we removed all of that. Right? And it goes on, and all of these things are there to plug all of the holes that is currently being used by public officials or government actors, right? So we have to remove everything that we know is an oppressive measure, an oppressive tool, a tool of limitation on the people. We have to remove all of it, right? Here we have prohibition on hidden law. So if it is not written in the Constitution, it is not valid. And we talk about void for complexity. So any law that cannot be reasonably understood by an adult of the age of majority or requires specialized interpretation to determine meaning shall be void. Very simple, right? And we have, right now, this current draft has 66 articles, right? And each article defines a specific constitutional question. As you go through and you look at the titles, for example, here we have Article 4. It talks about criminal law and public order, right? Even though it talks about this here, these are the constitutional requirements. But in addition, or as you can say, in conjunction with criminal law and public order, there is a manual. Every institution has its own manual. So that means that their conduct is defined. They can decide when and how they act, right? They have to act as is defined in the manual. And if they don't, criminal penalties, right? Here we have sentencing and determination of harm. Same thing. We have the constitutional portion, and then we have the judicial manual. So even the judges, they will have no more power to use discretion. They will have to use what the law says they can use. Because we cannot be making determinations on something that nobody knows how you are coming up with your decisions, right? Or following something that was decided on before, right? For example, here we have prohibited factors. Sentencing shall not consider personal status, wealth or poverty, public opinion, or public influence, political influence. Only lawful and relevant factors may be considered. And again, when we talk about even the rules of evidence and so forth, clearly defined in a manual. What is admissible evidence? Clearly defined as well. Nothing is left up to someone to make a decision on their own. Right? Here we have the force of law, where we talk about we're changing the name of our police force to the Public Peace Service. This is a better reflection of what we want in society. We don't want a force. We want individuals in service of an office. You are hired, right? Money can't save me again. But that being said, there are limitations on the Public Peace Service Authority, right? The PPS or the Public Peace Service may only investigate alleged violations of law or detain persons where objective evidence establishes a reasonable factual connection between the person and an alleged criminal act established by written law, and immediately present such person before a judicial panel to determine whether the detention was lawful, whether sufficient objective evidence exists to continue the proceedings, whether release, continued detention, or formal charge is authorized by law. So we remove that decision making from the constable or from the officer, right? So they don't get themselves in trouble. If you are detaining someone or you're going to so-called arrest them for whatever reason, you must present them in front of a judge immediately before detention. That way it is a judge who is determining these things. And guess what? This is actually what is supposed to happen today in society, you know. But they don't do it. They don't do it. Right? See how you're always looking out for them. Right. I mean, we could have always said, you know, ignorance of the law is no excuse. But here, we are giving them the opportunity to be lawful, right? We're not here to punish everybody. You get a chance to do the lawful thing. If you don't do it, then you face the penalties, right? And the PPS may only take actions to prevent immediate harm or violation of law, de-escalate situations and encounters to ensure protection of life, property, and dignity. The PPS shall not create law, determine guilt, or impose punishment without lawful order of a judge or court. Any action beyond these limits is void. Right? Talk about structure and control. Each territory shall maintain a territory peace unit. Right? So the PPS would be territory based. Will they find a judge on the weekend? 100%. 100%. No arrest can be made to detain anyone without a judge signing off on it. And we will always have a judge on call. Like you'll have a video conference, something like that, right? Someone always available, whatever time of night, or whatever time of day, whatever day of the week, a judge or a judicial panel would be available, right? Duty to the people. PPS officers are public servants who serve the people and remain accountable at all times. PPS officers shall act with integrity, restraint, respect for rights in accordance with written constitutional law. Abuse of authority constitutes a crime. Abuse of authority constitutes a crime. You see, some people, I have had comments that some of these things, but when we get down a little bit further, people say, some of these things sound harsh. Some of these things sound like, you know, if somebody make a mistake, then just get punished right away. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. Just like how you get up and go and work. If you start the foolishness, what then do? You get punished or you get fired. Government office or government job is no different. The only difference is because you have an elevated duty and you can do certain things that people can't do, you're held at a higher standard. So if you go through certification school, you get your training and you come a road and do foolishness, who is to blame? Who is to blame? Exactly. And again, PPS have them own manual as well. So every office have their manual that they are trained on. There is no arbitrary just get up and get up and start the foolishness. Right? Here is the beautiful part. All PPS officers shall be identifiable at all times while on duty. Identification shall include full name and official badge number, territory designation, complete uniform, identification card, PPS embroidered insignia on all clothing including shoes. Obstructed view of identifying elements or credentials or failure to identify as a PPS officer by credential card invalidates enforcement authority. You can't hide your name, you can't hide your insignia, you can't hide nothing. If you're a public servant, you're in the public. Everybody's supposed to know who you are. You can't use no initials. You can't use no alias. Full name. If you have the honest work, what are you afraid about? Full name when you're in a public and depend on the job. If you don't want to display it, you got your yard, go find something else to do. All interactions may be recorded by any member of the public, and ID cards may be photographed or video if demanded by the people at the onset of any police interaction to ensure accountability. Mandatory recording. All PPS interactions with the public shall be recorded by body camera and vehicular cameras, including audio recording and video recording. Recording shall begin at first contact or detected movement, continue without interruption until conclusion. Record both vehicle view and officer view. Interference or obstruction of recording shall invalidate the enforcement action, create a presumption of misconduct and criminal conduct, subject to criminal prosecution. Except in instances where proven malfunction of equipment is detected without tampering or other unauthorized action. Right? Drew says, quick question, is this current law or proposed law? It is none of the two. This is not proposed. This is a constitution that has been formulated by the people for the people. So it has nothing to do with the current system of governance. Enough is enough. We consult with the people. We're not consulting with anyone else. If someone wants to come and make a suggestion or they want to be involved in some way, they make it public. We're not going in private to seek the approval of anyone. So we have the recording, right? Public record of enforcement. All recordings shall form part of the official public record. Now, people, many of you may not be aware of what a public record is, You probably hear about public notices, you hear about declarations. But in a system that we are promoting justice and peace and happiness, right? If we're promoting these things, we need something called an official public record system. And we talked about this before. All documented recordings, all public documents, all public official documents, everything that the people need access to is going to be made public. If you are subject to some kind of interaction with a public official or government agent, they are going to have body cameras. And you can access that record without asking anybody. If someone in the public is interested, they can go and search and find that record and go review it as well. We're not supposed to need for you to ask nobody for something where we already own. And we put government in a power. So that means that we entitled to anything where them can access. Any and everything. So a police can interfere with your recording then? No. Where you see that? It sounds like a document from a people's government. Right. But this runs deeper than a constitution though. It gone in a full governance law. Absolutely. This, I think it should be in order to have a revolutionary effect. That is correct. This is not a constitution like what we would see in another country. This is a complete body of law. This is a complete body of law. We are not allowing legislatures and institutions to make up the rules for the people. The people are supposed to make up the rules and tell government what to do. Right? So that is how we envision this. If we're going to have accountability and we're going to have justice and equal protection under the law, everybody has to be accountable. Everybody. So here we have records identified of importance within 6 months shall not be altered, destroyed, or concealed. So we're not going to have unlimited record, right? You have 6 months to determine if the record is relevant. After the 6 months, if it is not marked relevant, it is automatically purged, right? So we don't have to keep, increasing storage and wasting money, archiving things that are not relevant, right? Any violation voids the enforcement action and subject to criminal penalty. Again, criminal penalty heavy throughout this document because we cannot allow anyone to get away from the law. And if we're going to have criminal penalties for a regular individual, it has to be across the board. It has to be. A violation of law, if we consider it a criminal penalty, just because you wear one badge or one hat or in a uniform, that don't exempt you from any part of the law. As a matter of fact, you are held to a higher standard of the law. So any misaction, any intentional violation, straight criminal process. It goes straight to the Office of Public Prosecution. Right? Here we have surveillance limits, use of force, where it says force shall be used only where necessary to prevent immediate harm, protect life, stop ongoing unlawful acts. Force must be minimal and proportionate. Excessive force is unlawful and constitutes a crime. Remember, in a system like this, the officer is wearing cameras. Right? The officer is wearing cameras. So if they try to tamper with the camera or the evidence shows that they acted unlawfully, them still face criminal penalties. Very important that the requirements of the law shall apply with bias. Bias to who and why? No, the law is applied equally across the board. When we say if I say bias, if we're talking about public officials, yes, anything that they do that is unlawful is straight criminal. Whereas an individual, sometimes you can violate someone's rights, but it's not necessarily criminal, right? Like, I don't know. There are certain things in the civil realm of things. You have disagreements, you have contracts and things like that. Those, of course, are not criminal. But as far as criminal law is concerned, it is unbiased. in the current system, the ordinary person is at the mercy of the arbitrators of the system. Exactly. Exactly. And those arbitrators are not selected by the people. We can't even vote directly. We can't even vote directly. So, you know, it is even more serious than we think. No person, detention. No person shall be detained without constitutional authority supported by objective evidence. Now, again, you will see throughout this constitution, evidence is required. If you don't have evidence, for example, if someone is being charged with a crime, what sense does it make that we cannot see what happened? Just taking the officer word for it. That is foolishness. This is why we're instituting cameras on the vehicles and on the officer. So if any one of them tell a lie, which the vehicle can't tell a lie, right? If the constable tell a lie and it is supported by video evidence, it's a straight criminal prosecution. You take him off of the road and he can get recommended to the Office of Public Prosecution. It's that simple. Corruption gone. If we're able to review what officials are doing. Anyways, let us move on. Regulation of PPS vehicles, right? Private use of vehicles shall not be treated as unlawful unless harm or risk is detected by evidence. Vehicles used for public service shall maintain audio and video recording systems and preserve recordings for a minimum of 180 days. Such recording shall serve as primary evidence in court. Right? So, if a constable, for example, if an officer travels home with the company vehicle, right? He can't turn off the recording. And it has to be authorized. Right? So at all times, if it is not to work and back from work, it is a violation. Right? Failure of required recording systems. Where recording is required by law, a failure to maintain recording equipment constitutes a violation. So if something go wrong with your recording equipment and you see say it a beep or it have light on it or whatever and you don't turn it in or you don't report it, that's a violation of the law. Because how are you going to go out when your equipment is malfunctioning? Absence of required recordings may limit evidentiary claims, result in adverse inference as determined by law. Right? And it goes on. Rights during detention and custody. This is also something missing in our current society, where people get accused and you sit there waiting and you have continued injury until somebody attends to you or until you get an attorney. In the current system, if you don't have a lawyer, in many instances, I will say, because I have gotten several reports, they don't even offer you bail and they keep you locked up until they bring you to court, which in sometimes it can be days, sometimes it can be weeks. I personally know someone who his family member was there for a couple of weeks before he could even see a judge, locked up in a cell, no bail offered, based on a lie, an allegation that they had no evidence of. So I know for sure that that happens. Right? So this article establishes mandatory protections for all persons subject to detention or custody. All detention shall be lawful, limited, recorded, and subject to immediate review. Lawful basis of detention. No person shall be detained except under a valid warrant issued by a court of competent jurisdiction or upon reasonable suspicion supported by specific articulable evidence of a violation of law. Again, evidence-based. It can't be where somebody say. It can't just be where you see. We have to have evidence. Show us the video evidence. Show us the evidence of the material. Show us what caused you to have arrested someone. Direct evidence witnessing someone committing a crime, about to commit a crime, or with information supporting a criminal act or intent to commit a crime. Right? That has to be the basis. Detention without lawful basis is void and subject to criminal prosecution. You see what I'm telling you? Again, if them walk around and arrest you under this system without lawful justification, they themselves now turn into a criminal. Right? Immediate notice. At the time of detention, the person shall be informed promptly and in clear language of the reason for the detention, the legal basis for the detention or law violated, their rights under this constitution. If not a witness to a crime, the document authorizing the detention must be present. How many times we hear, the warrant is coming. We don't have the warrant right now, but we have your name. We have information, so we didn't pick up the warrant yet. Right? In this system, there is no such authority. No such authority. If you don't have it in your hand, you cannot go out saying that you're going to arrest, search, or do anything with anyone. Failure to provide notice invalidates continued detention and subject to criminal prosecution. Because it is a violation of rights. So if we have a violation of rights, that means that it is a criminal act. Right? We can't have somebody's rights violated and you say, oh, it never that bad. No. Can't go on so. Any rights violation is a rights violation. It doesn't matter how small, it doesn't matter how short of a detention, and it doesn't matter the circumstances. If you don't have lawful justification, don't do it. It's that simple. All detention action shall be continuously recorded by audio and video from first contact. Right? So again, you have all these requirements that ensure that we have a fair justice system, a fair system of criminal law. Right to counsel and assistance. A detained person has the right to defend themselves against any charge or accusation, consult with a legal representative or chosen assistant, or communicate with a person of their choosing at all times up to the end of trial. So you notice it says legal representative or chosen assistant. Right? So you don't necessarily need a lawyer. If someone wants to represent you, they can show up, you sign something, and you proceed with your representative. It's that simple. Right? And again, all of these things that we see here, there is a manual for each institution. So it clearly states what they can and cannot do. Right to challenge detention. Any person may challenge the legality of detention at any time. Courts shall provide immediate hearing and remedy within 7 days where detention is unlawful. So if you feel that your detention is unlawful, you can demand that the court see your matter right away. In today's terminology, it would be called your right to a speedy trial. All right? Release. A person shall be released immediately where lawful basis is not established, where procedures are not followed, where detention exceeds lawful time limits. Release shall not be conditioned on unlawful requirements or arbitrary forms or paperwork. Any officer who fails to comply with the constitutional requirements of detainees in custody shall be subject to criminal penalty by the Office of Public Prosecution. Again, once you break the law, you're a criminal. And in this case, it will be documented you are breaking the law because everybody have to wear a camera. Prohibition and secret detention, etc. Exclusion of unlawful evidence. Now again, this is a big one. Any evidence obtained through unlawful detention or violation of this article shall have no legal effect nor evidentiary weight. You can't violate the law to enforce the law. Section 14.1. Right. Prohibition on secret detention. No person shall be held in undisclosed or unrecorded custody. Absolutely. Enough time people get locked up and nobody don't know them lock up. Nobody don't know where they're there. Them not get no phone call. All of them something there. All of this would change because the facilities would also be required to have recordings 24/7, a part of the public record system. Right? All places of detention must be publicly identified subject to inspection. Secret detention is unlawful and void. Right? Then we have commerce, taxation, and economic structure, right? Where we define how these things are supposed to work. Personal tax is also removed unless there is a specific need. Imagine you don't have to pay any more income tax. Amazing times coming. Use and transparency of public funds. Public funds shall be used only for infrastructure, public services, national development, emergency response. All expenditures shall be recorded and publicly accessible. Unrecorded or undisclosed spending is unlawful and void. Again, you break the law, you go in front of the court. Currency. Jamaica shall maintain a national currency under public authority. The currency shall reflect real economic value, remain stable within Jamaica, be free from manipulation, issued by a single banking authority called the National Bank of Jamaica. When I talk about money, we're not going to talk about that right now. But there's a manual for that. Unauthorized creation or duplication of currency is a criminal violation. Right? We talk about banking and finance. Right? Prohibition of, something interesting here. You notice it say, shall be free from manipulation. Right? Did you know that the up and down of a currency is manipulation? Did you know that the movement of value of a currency within its economy is manipulation? Need I say more? All right. Prohibition on speculative systems. Financial systems based on speculation against value are prohibited. So, once we stop the value from moving, there is no need for these extra systems speculating because you're not going to make any money. You can do that outside of Jamaica, but not within Jamaica. Right? Again, artificial market manipulation, profit derived from destabilization of value are prohibited, aka unlawful. Right? International trade. So we're going to pretty much all of the economic factors that are of paramount importance. Western hegemonic imposition. Interesting. Contracts and obligations, right? Going to contracts, what they are, how they relate to the law, etc., etc. Right? We have national defense and the army. There is also a manual for this. There is a manual describing what powers the army has, what duties the army has, how the army interact with the people during peacetime, how the army does things in an emergency. We talk about emergencies and when emergencies must end and relieve themselves of power. All right. Intelligence, information, and national security limits. All right. Everything is limited. Of course, there is always going to be people that are opposed to a system like this. Any system that is implemented, we are always going to have those who say, no, we don't want this kind of system. This system, we don't know it. So we don't know what problems we're going to jump out of and jump into. Even when you can clearly see, mostly what this is accomplishing is equal access to the law, fair treatment under the law, and everybody is subject to the law, right? Also promoting your rights, promoting your freedoms, promoting everyone having their faculties where they don't have to be worrying about you're going down the street and police stop you. You're going down the street and you have this kind of violence going on. People, as you see a system like this, I am not going to promise or to say that we would have zero violence. But when you realize the penalties, when you realize the mechanisms that are there, when you realize the incentives that are coming, I wouldn't need to convince you at all. Right? International commerce, trade, and tourism. And again, for example, the term commerce, we have dissected it and brought it back to its original meaning. Commerce is the buying and selling of things. You cannot buy something and engage in commerce. You cannot sell something and engage in commerce. It has to be both elements. Just like a crime needs 3 elements. That does not change. If you make a cake, it needs certain ingredients. It is the same thing. Right? So if you're simply buying something, you cannot be taxed. You cannot be charged commercial fees. You cannot end up in the commercial system because you have a tax ID. It is ridiculous. We cannot tax ourselves for a living. Right? Regulation of foreign businesses. Again, we cover just about everything within society. National development, science and technology. National development shall aim to improve the quality of life for all people, maintain sustainable use of land and resources, support long-term stability and independence. Right? So throughout this document, we have the protections that are going to allow us to not only grow, but to stop oppression. There is no way for us to introduce this in our current system. Let me say that again. It is impossible to introduce even 10% of the concepts and those beneficial things that we have been going over. It is almost impossible to introduce these things to those who we call governance or government. And if we cannot propose what we feel are good for us, that means that we are not pitney. That means that we are stepchild. We're not gonna talk. I don't feel with us. I don't feel with family. So we literally now have no talk. And if we don't have a say in the very things that are affecting us as a society, what good does it do? Education and continued learning. Now, this is an important part, right? Let us take a look at this section. Every citizen has the right to free education from kindergarten to college level schooling. Non-citizen with lawful residency status may be restricted access based on availability. So this is the only restriction for those who are non-citizens. If it is available, you're good to go. If it is not available, then you are restricted. Obviously. No child or person shall be denied access to education based on economic status. The state shall ensure that schools under its direct supervision are available and accessible to all territories. Right? So just like we have primary schools in every community, well, not every, but every neighboring community has effectively some kind of schooling system. We all need this to change. Some will not see. Well, we're not going to call them names, but there are some people who refuse to read, some people who refuse change. It doesn't matter how they are being violated, they can't see any better. And some people, even when they see the change, the first thing them say, oh, Jamaica now go better. And they start with just bare negativity. Pure negativity. So no child or person shall be denied access to education based on economic status. The state shall ensure that schools under its direct supervision are available and accessible to all territories. The structure of schooling. Education shall consist of primary education, right, which is from kindergarten to primary school. Secondary education from all years school to high school or end of high school. Technical and vocational training. Specialized practical schools. Higher education, bachelor's, master's, and PhD schools. Continuing and adult education. All other schooling institutions. Anything about vaccines? Absolutely. Absolutely. That is in the health section. Right? The official languages of Jamaica shall be Jamaican Patois and English. Both languages shall be taught in schools. Written Jamaican Patois shall be taught as a formal subject at primary and secondary levels. Right? So again, if we're going to talk about culture, history, and tradition, we cannot only be learning English in schools. Most of we can't write Patois. Most of we can't, a matter of fact, most of we can't read Patois either. We see it and can figure out some words, but to read it fluently, we can't do it. And that needs to change. Right? Curriculum. The national curriculum enumeration up to high school shall include language and communication, mathematics, field specific beyond high school, you see? So certain things like we discussed before, we don't need certain advanced mathematics in schools unless your field of study requires it. Right? We need to take out and remove some of these things in schools that are not benefiting anyone in society except for a very small niche group. So when we have something like maths and we are forcing our children to learn calculus, to learn pre-calculus, to learn, all these advanced mathematics, and they are not going to use it in basic society, it is ridiculous. So the curriculum is going to be somewhat slimmed down to only include things that are necessary and also include some other things that have been missing within the curriculums. Right? So we have maths, we have finance, science, physical, earth and life, biology, physical, theory and research, technology, computer and engineering, history, culture, civic and legal studies, agricultural and environmental studies, law and constitutional understanding, practical life skills, How many people remember having practical life skills studies in school? I don't. Hygiene and body care, social interaction and value building. This is a big one. Social interaction and value building. There are people walking around. The advanced mathematics is necessary for some applied scientists, higher level applied sciences, higher level research and engineering. Correct. And that's why we say field specific beyond high school. Right? Social interaction. There are people walking around us every day that don't know how to speak to people. There are people walking around who, it's almost like we're in a dystopian society, a far removed society. You see people walking around, but everybody is a stranger, right? We don't have any social groups. We don't have any constant social and value building. Even our very neighbors, we don't have a social interaction and value building strategy. We don't have conflict resolution and them kind of something there. Proactive. Teaching people how to interact with each other, how to solve basic problems, how to de-escalate situations, how to be honest, how to actually, just have basic conversation. Anyways, conservation and preservation of the in daily life. Business establishment and development. Huge. Big thing. Many of us don't know nothing about business. Some of us lucky we try one something at work. Luck should not be something we depend on. By the very definition of luck, it will run out. Swimming. Again, basic life skills. Arts and craft. Physical education. Research and development. Manufacturing. Food and nutrition. First aid and medical basics. Defensive and survival essential training. So you see, if you look at a curriculum like this, and you look at what is currently in school, I highly doubt that half of these things are being taught throughout high school. Right? Civic and legal education. All students shall be taught the Constitution of Jamaica, the rights and duties of citizens, the structure of government, protection, preservation, and enforcement of personal rights, protection, preservation, and enforcement of property rights, trusts, charity, and non-commercial legal entities. Most people don't even know what a trust is, public or private. Imagine our children having this kind of knowledge. Imagine the generation to come having this level of intelligence. All we have to do is imagine. Because if a system like this goes into play, we are already ahead of the game, It is just that our society is holding us back. In fact, certain countries' vocational education goes up to the terminal degree equivalence. Okay. It is only our society that is holding us back. We already have the mental capacity to leap ahead. I mean, I know about Uno, but me now wait until me can't move or me can't do nothing. Then me I try say my last words. China and Finland practices that modality fully. Absolutely. Absolutely. As much as people hate pan China and hate pan some of these other countries, Russia and wherever else. You see, it is because we watch too much TV sometime and we're on the internet too much. Many of these places are far advanced with technology, far advanced with governance, far advanced with crime suppression, far advanced with many different systems. However, none of them have what we have right now. What we have in front of us, no other government on the earth no have. Infusing the law in the Constitution ensures stability. It ensures stability. And if we can stabilize law, if we can stabilize society, if we can stabilize and predict how society should be run, should be governed, should be built, it can only benefit the people. Because the people are only taken advantage of when they don't know what's coming or they don't know what to expect. If the people know what to expect, you can't fool them. Right? You cannot fool somebody that knows. You have to fool somebody that don't know. Based on qualifications in electrical engineering, postgrad education and training, and business consultation. Yeah, we need to be training and teaching our children in many different areas that they are interested in. Not because they can make a little dollar. Because when we go down further and we start talking about the economics of things and we start talking about how we will allow the nation to rebuild and build and create and start innovate and those kind of things. No other country is allowing that. First of all, when we talk about free education up to college, anyways, record keeping and public information. Record keeping shall ensure transparency of all public actions, accountability of all institutions, preservation of national history and legal actions. No public action shall exist without a record. Again, these are answering societal questions. Right? Each article answers a question about a problem we are having. Learning must be student-centric. We have, but the boys are more interested in fast money and expensive vehicles. Again, you know, even though we have certain institutions like, well, somebody mentioned Heart the last time, right? A positive institution within society. It is not effective. It is effective to a degree where there are some people who are benefiting from it, right? But when you have society and you have all of these laws, rules, and regulations to remove the money from your hand, right? Rather than put money in your hand or to make you more stable. People are going to look for the best way to benefit, right? And for some people, that is how they want to benefit. Fast money and expensive vehicles. Because what productive thing can one do in society other than work? Currently. If you now work, you're going to be bored out of your mind. If you not work, you are going to be bored so bad. You ever see some people come on TV and do some foolishness, or you watch some video and people just do something and you say, how them come for do that? What could have possessed them to make them do that? When you don't have a productive society and things where people can engage in something productive, you start have eyeglass. Eyeglass. Anyways, this is the public record system, right? A national record keeping system that would house all recordings, documents, laws, paperwork, policy, everything. What we call a record, it would be in the public record system, segregated by a record type, right? All public institutions must maintain complete and accurate records of decisions, actions, transactions, communications affecting the public, etc. Records must be created at the time the action occurs. Now, here's an interesting part of this constitution. You see, when a record is created, it is immediately admissible as evidence. Right? Because if it is a public record and it was not tampered with, it is already authenticated. And the system would be set up in such a way that no record can be deleted. If you make a mistake, you create another one. So we will always have an evidentiary trail. Right? Types of record: written records, audio records, video records, digital data, physical evidence. All forms of record shall carry equal legal weight when verified. Right? So again, we have access to public records. Any person may request and obtain copies of public records. So if there is some kind of record that is in a public record system that is not publicly accessible, like something with sensitive data or something that for some reason is restricted, that is the only kind of record you would request. But general things like body cam footage and documents of whatever sort, if it don't have a restriction, you don't need to ask for that. Right? Time for release. Public records must be made available within a reasonable and defined time of 5 business days after request. So if something is restricted, somebody has to make a decision in 5 days to release it or to continue restrict it. And it has to be stated in law. Right? Preservation of records, accuracy. Right? Here, this one talk about the public surveillance system. So, like we spoke about earlier, public cameras need to be at every busy intersection. And we need to have an authority specifically overseeing that. So that way, if it needs maintenance of any sort, an authority is specifically there to deal with those things. Right? And of course, surveillance is limited to only lawful purposes. Right? So if something happened, obviously you can pull a record. Public and private access, authorization of targeted surveillance. So of course, if there is something requiring more than regular surveillance, it has to be authorized by documented evidence. Right? Some kind of authority from a court or some other institution requiring that kind of recording. Right? Prohibition on mass surveillance, installation and operation of public surveillance systems, retention, access to surveillance records. So it covers everything having to do with the surveillance and the rights and prohibited use, etc. Right? Agriculture, food and fishing. and natural resources. Right? Every single aspect of society is covered. No room for arbitrary restriction or arbitrary governance. If it not write down, you can't do it. It's that simple. Right? Housing, community, and social welfare. You know, the other day we were having a discussion about this, where we were talking about the whole farming thing and how RADA wants you to have a license if you have something the police deems to be in commercial quantities. That is foolishness. Absolute garbage. Imagine you have 2 bunch of banana in your trunk or upon your seat, and the police are going to tell you, say, you need RADA license. Imagine that. And get a ticket. In some cases, I've seen a video where somebody got a $50,000 ticket for some foolishness. $20,000 ticket for the $30,000 ticket for that. All of those things is ridiculous. We would remove all of those obstructions of exercising your right to grow food on your property. And if you so choose to go sell it, go and go sell it. Right? There are laws in place for those who are doing large-scale commercial enterprise. But for a regular individual growing 110 pumpkin or 1 5 banana or whatever, it is ridiculous to tax the people for basic living. It don't make no sense. Obviously, we would not have come up with such nonsense. We would not be taxing ourselves for basic living. Right? So now, when we talk about housing, there will be a national effort to ensure that everybody have proper housing. Everybody. And we work out a simple math the other day, right? Under our current system, let's use a calculator. Right? Under our current system, let's say one house costs, let's say $15 million, right? Apothecary, lawful, greetings. Let's say a house costs $15 million, right? And let's say we have 1 million people. Just word speaking, let's say we have 1 million people in Jamaica, right? And we all decide that every month we are going to throw $15. So we have 1 million people. Divide it by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Every month, we can buy somebody a house. By paying $15 each. $15, we can buy one house for somebody. Obviously, most of us can come up with more than $15, right? But I'm just showing you an example. If we all contributed to a national housing reform system, it does not take much for us to accomplish these things. Look at it. So, $15 every month, we could have buy one house, right? So times that by 10. So for 10 house, times 10, would that show $150? Right? So every month, we are through $150. 1 million people are through $150. Or contribute $150. And we can buy 10 houses. So these are some basic solutions we can implement ourselves when we eliminate the wasteful factor. We not pay these exorbitant tickets. We now get hauled off to jail. We now get tax out of our nose. We now get customs that charge us all kind of fees and all these different things when we now do business. We now get harassed at the airports anymore. So now we have this extra capital. And we don't have to give away the whole light. Right? We don't have to give away the whole light. Is $150 squeezing anybody's pocket? Can you afford to give away $150 a month? So when we talk about fixing society, and when we talk about how a constitution like this could work to ensure that we're not hungry, exactly. They collect so much from people and give you back nothing except for a loan, which again is not yours. Right? Instead of actually ensuring that all natives, all island-born people would be guaranteed a home. Now, we're not talking about no big mansion either, because again, $14 million, again, it may not be necessary. It will be based on your family. How many people are needing to have a shelter. But when we look at institutions that are currently there, it would just seem like revenue extraction from the people. Unnecessary taxation. Taxation without representation. But if we were in charge and we put our money together, and again, we're not talking about a lot. We don't need we don't need to be trying to afford 50 houses a month. Right? That's why I said earlier, we are being held back. We are being held back. USA not going to like that. Look at those countries that did that. What countries did that? And again, we're not going to talk about international relations at this point. But I am almost certain that when something like this goes into effect, the amount of people that are going to come back to Jamaica and rebuild the island, bring back all the knowledge that fled away. Imagine that. Imagine all of the expertise that left Jamaica because there was no opportunity. Imagine all of those people coming back, contributing to our society, building our society, doing research and development, doing farming, right? Instead of us crowding up for 9 to 5, we change our work day to 4 hours a day. Right? Right, they are putting fines on people who are looking to do honest living. Right? It don't make any sense. I see people's stalls getting broken up, people's items getting stolen and taken away in the backs of vans. All kind of atrocities. All kinds of atrocities. If we had a 4-hour workday where we can have institutions, it would be shift-based. You work 4 hours, somebody else work another 4 hours, somebody else work another 4 hours. We don't have a shortage of work. All we have is plunder. We have a system set up to be limited, and it doesn't have to be. If we put in place a system where we only need to work 4 hours, we can now spend more time with family. We can have more rest. And more rest, by the way, means longer life. In case you didn't realize it. More rest equals longer lifespan. So imagine you don't have to get up and run, go work. Imagine you can come home, or you can finish work and go to the bank. You can finish work and go do a government service. And that government service would be so efficient that you don't spend more than a half an hour in there. It is not impossible. It is just not being implemented at this point. Electricity can be reduced to zero. When we talk about bills, we can do the same thing we do with housing. We can do a mass purchase of solar panels and batteries and outfit them on everyone's roof. Outfit them on every house. We don't need a national grid. And if we're going to have a national grid, it should only be for commercial industries who need it. Right? Some places really need grid power because they use a lot of power, but for our residential individuals, we don't need all of that. Right? So this is why a constitution like this would benefit Jamaica. Because we, the people, can vote on the things that matter to us. We can put these projects in place. Did you know that Burkina Faso, the roads that they are creating, remember, they don't have no road in many places. The roads they are creating, they cut the cost of these roads, I think they say by 59%, by allowing the citizens to assist in road building. New York did the same thing in fixing potholes in Brooklyn. They allowed the qualified citizens to come out and assist in patching the roads. In less than a weekend, the whole pothole them fill up. So it is not impossible. It is just that the priorities that are set has nothing to do with the people. We start talking about constituencies and all of these different things. Right? All right, Titrix, you wanted to come up. I'm going to bring you up if you're still available. Titrix.
Hello.
Greetings, Lawful.
Lawful. I'm actually at work now. And I listen, so maybe I touch something.
Okay,
I can't participate right now. Because like I say, I am at work, so I can only listen.
All right, no problem. Big up yourself.
But I have been moving about the phone.
Yeah.
So as soon as I can, I will try to come back up.
All right, sounds good.
All right, thank you again.
Yeah, man, cool. Is this document available for download? Yes, it is. The document is available at voiceofjamaica.com. Let us do a review again. Voiceofjamaica.com. You scroll down and the first post that you see will look like this. And it says New Constitution. So you click on that and you will get to the link to download the constitutional draft. It's taking a bit to load. All right, here we go. So here we have the link to the constitutional draft. All right, you click on this and you should be able to see the current one. Now, this current draft does not have all the pages listed. It doesn't have the manuals in this version. This is just the Constitution itself, right? Covering all the aspects of what a constitution should encompass. The other section, the other part of the Constitution, I am working on the table of contents and the links that are going to be necessary for easy navigation of the Constitution. So by sometime this week, that should be completed, where when you go to the table of contents up here, you can just click on one of the topics and it will take you to the relevant sections of the Constitution that you want to see, right? At best, solar, wind, etc. are intermittent even with advanced battery technology. Well, we're not going to go deep into solar, but for a normal household with a 300 amp hour battery, 52 volt 300 amp hour battery, most households would be fine. Right? So I'm not sure what you're referring to when you say at best wind and solar are intermittent, but I have family members who have solar with no JPS, no grid service, and they are fine. Running fridge and all of them something there. So, you know, there are people out there who can measure and set up these systems in Jamaica. One individual is her name? Hello, Andre. He also does system sizing and installation. Right? I would lean more towards a community distributed topology, right, for solar than to have a grid service coming from a source however amount of miles away, and then when that grid goes down, because you know Jamaica is prone to hurricanes and things like that, so you know we have to think about these things. It is better to have independent power and grid as a backup, if anything.
Don't request for join again, see it?
Coco Love, you're up.
Yes, sir. Good evening. I don't know what is going on. Why I'm not really requesting to come, but it seems like I'm coming up. So let me tell you,
Okay, no problem.
again, I really like what you're doing, but I was thinking about the home ownership program that you're talking about, right? So I don't know how many people are working class people going to work on a day-to-day basis that is paying taxes in Jamaica. I don't know if you probably know that offhand, but I was thinking every working individual in Jamaica should be able to just actually have a piece of land.
Absolutely.
And I don't even really think I mean, I don't want to sound like I want to be in the capture land business, but I mean, they should, once they're in Jamaica and they have a history of being in Jamaica, they should just be able to acquire a piece of land. And then that would be their piece of land. And if they want more, like you say, it don't have to be no big piece of land, but if they want more, then they can, by means of working and whatever else, they can acquire more land, but at least the basics, so you can survive with dignity, you know what I'm saying? Instead of living in an area where they're talking about you're on capture land and all this kind of stuff. No Jamaican really shouldn't be on land that is considered capture land. You understand what I'm saying? I don't know what fair way or whichever way you can work it out, but a person could work it out. But you know what I'm saying? People should be able to find a piece of land, live with dignity, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, man, that's a part of it as well.
Yeah. So that is just my contribution.
Yeah, man, no problem. And you know, to touch on that topic a little bit, right?
Yeah.
You know, the term capture land, a lot of people are getting things confused. I went over it the other day, but
Yeah, I heard you talking about it, but I just use it kind of like parochially.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know, and you know, we need to have awareness around it because there are people out there so afraid, and they already using the land, you know, as they need to, you know, to have a sustainable living situation and
Right.
not put themselves in debt.
Right.
But because of the lack of knowledge, some of these people can easily lose their land.
Right.
You know, so again, for some people you can't tell them nothing, and they might go listen to entertainment more than come over here so to come learn something. But
Right.
you know, it is something that is also implemented in this constitution as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so everybody is entitled to a piece of land that they actively use. Right? So that way, because again, government can't own anything. So who is going to own the land? It's the people.
Right. Correct.
And again, we're only here for a temporary time. So when we gone, somebody else will come sit on it.
Right. Right.
So yeah, man, 100% agree.
Yeah. So let me ask you though, I've been listening to you now for the last couple of weeks, and I mean I like where you're going. So now, how would you figure to institute what it is that you're talking about? How do you get the grassroots to come behind your plan and all that kind of stuff? I mean, I love it. You know what I mean? I'm in support of it. But
Yeah.
how do you get the ordinary citizens to change from the two-party system, which they're accustomed to, the British system, which they're under? How would you move forward away from that system?
Well, that is what we call phase 3. This is phase 2. Right? Our stage 2. Stage 1 was the getting all the suggestions to implement into the constitution.
Okay.
Stage 2 is now the awareness stage, getting the word out, getting the constitution out so people can be aware of it.
Okay.
And then stage 3, we talk about implementation, but can't really divulge the implementation just yet.
Correct. Okay. Understood.
Yeah.
So in terms of like the promotion of what you're doing now, what means, methods do you have in mind? And do you have a team? Do you have a team working with?
No, I don't have a team, but I do collaborate with others in the background that
Okay.
I don't speak about just yet. But
Right.
I will also have consumable materials where people will be able to share this information in bite-sized portion. And we
Okay.
will also continue to have open discussions like these on the platform and other platforms as well, so that we can not only get awareness, but we can
Right.
also get people comfortable with what exactly we're talking about, rather than just putting it out there and talking about votes and all of them, something there up front. People need to know what exactly it is.
Right, because so the thing is, the reason why I'm asking you is, I know a lot of people who would be interested in something like this. However, you know, people feel disenfranchised, or they feel like they really can't get nothing done. They feel powerless. Put it that way.
Right.
You know what I mean? So how would it be structured where people really feel like, yeah, this is something we really can get behind? For example, you know, in Jamaica, a third party system is not one which people like really gravitate towards, because they're like, it's not gonna really work.
Right.
You know, so they're like, I'm not gonna waste my time and vote for a third party, because you know what I'm saying? So
Right.
I mean, this will be the same challenge. You want to hear the word I'm going to use now? We would be facing.
Well, no.
You know what I'm saying? You know, because people are going to be like, all right, so we're going to move away from the third party system. How feasible is it?
Very feasible. But
Yeah.
again, concerns like those would be after awareness,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Because, for example, if we say new constitution, we don't want to do this anymore. The first thing someone is going to think is that it has something to do with the current government system. Because we were already told that there's a constitutional reform.
Okay.
So that is a problem there because, again, if we don't have awareness of what this constitution entails, people are going to associate it with the current system, and obviously many people have a distaste for the current system.
Correct.
So this is why awareness comes first. We can't tell people, say, yeah man, a new system come about and this and that, whatever, and then in their mind they have no idea what that means. So once we get more awareness out and we get people's concerns addressed, then we can start talking about what stage 3 looks like.
Okay. Okay. All right. So I take it that you're going to be doing this for what? Maybe another couple years? I don't know.
Absolutely not.
So how much longer do you figure you plan to get this information out, to get this implemented? I mean, what is the agenda like timeline?
Well, we can't put a timeline on ignorance because currently that's where we're at. So we have to move into awareness. And,
Okay.
however long that takes, we're not going to rush it to say, yeah,
Right.
man, this have to go in place. No one really, no.
Right. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's why I was asking you again. I mean, aside from this platform, what other avenues, venues you're going to use to kind of like get the word out?
Well, like I said, we have collaboration in the background. I can't really disclose that right now.
No, that's
but
fine. That's fine. Okay, cool.
There are going to be, consumables where people can more digest the information in a more simple manner, and also get a copy of the Constitution for themselves and read,
Okay.
what exactly it says.
Let me ask you a question, because when you put up this thing, Voice of Jamaica, is that something that you had put together, where you say you free yourself and all that stuff? You go on and you go inside of it, and then you do the application letter and stuff like that.
We did that.
Okay, cool, yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, cool. Okay, listen, man, I love what you're doing, and I'm behind you 100%. And I'm not in Jamaica per se, but I know a lot of guys who are here with us who have similar ideas, who would love to see some change. But change is not easy.
Right.
So I mean, yeah, you would get the support if it's something that looks relevant and feasible.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And again, it is something public, so there's nothing to hide. Anyone who wants to, sort through, peruse, review, whatever the case may be, it is there in the public. So, anyone with concerns can definitely look at it first and then see if there is still a grievance or something, disingenuous that they would like to be addressed.
Okay. And of course, I don't know your name. I just, it says 876. 876. I can't even say that on my glasses now. It
LB.
says 876 something another there. LB, yeah. So
Yeah.
I say I was gonna do some homework on who you are, because I don't really know who you are. I just saw you online, like what you're doing.
Okay,
And,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, you
So
can check out the page. And
I
you
don't
can
know if
see
you're a
more of
legal
what-
person. You sound like you have some legal background.
No, I'm not from the legal fraternity.
Okay, but it seems like you have a lot of information regarding the law and all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just like any interested person, you take an interest in something, you're definitely going to have more knowledge than the common man. So
True
it's
enough.
just research and figuring out.
Okay. Well, okay, Mr. 876. I don't know any. Yeah. So but I'll touch base. I'll listen to you a lot. I'm following you and stuff, and I'm actually gonna share your live with other people who are
Yeah, man. Big up yourself. Thank you.
Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying that I'm gonna share your live with other people I know who would be interested. Because I really, really like what you're doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. Absolutely. Thank you for
All
that.
right. Yeah, man. So just big up you, big up everybody listening on the live, and what I mean. Thanks for the work you're doing and all that kind of stuff. All right.
Yeah, man. Thanks for the input.
Yeah, man.
Gratitude.
You have a good evening. Yeah, man. Have a good
You
evening.
too.
All right. I'll continue to listen.
Yeah. All right. So, all right. Apothecary, you're up. If you're still there, Apothecary. Greetings. All right. Look like a fat finger that one day. Yes. So, yeah, like we're saying, the whole thing about land, we discussed that about in the current system, and we also have it embedded here in this constitution, where those who need land for private purposes, not commercial purposes, for private purposes, you just take a piece of land that you need, right? You can only live one place. It's that simple. So you get the land that you need, you develop it, you cultivate it, or you just live on it, and you call it a day. It's not going to be that big of a deal, right? So we went through education. Let us go down to one of the further articles, right? Talk about crimes against people. We have citizenship. Let's talk about the criminal penalties, right? Oh, here is the land section, right? Land title and property registry. In our current system, right, you have to pay for land, you have to buy land, you have to do all kind of things to transfer it and all of that. Here, the registry is not even necessary unless you are transferring the land from one individual to the next, right? So, land is not going to be that big of a deal in a system like this, because it is not going to be something where people are going to constantly be profiting off of, unless it's like, of course, like prime real estate and stuff like that. But generally speaking, it is only ownership record that is being kept in the registry, right? Public finance, anti-corruption and accountability. So we have something called the PIA. I bought a land recently, but don't get the title yet. Survey documents. Okay. So we have an independent body, an anti-corruption authority known as the Public Integrity Authority, or the PIA, right? And anytime we have reports, enough reports of any kind of public corruption, any kind of public violation of the law, then this agency would be activated. They would step in and they would do their investigations, right? And once they step in, they work hand in hand with the Office of Public Prosecution, right? So the regular police would not be doing investigations. The Public Peace Service would only be responsible for normal, everyday reports of crime or information related to crime-related matters. This specific authority investigates public officials, right? Any branch of government will have public officials that have reports against them. They go in and investigate, right? And then if there is any truth to the allegations and they find evidence, they refer the matter directly to the Office of Public Prosecutions. Right? Remember, we say any government official who breaks the law, it is a crime. So this is the body that would refer the matter to the Office of Public Prosecution. Right? And again, they have their own manual as well. Have prohibited conduct and all them something there. We have disaster management and national response. Right? The NEA, which is the National Emergency Authority, would coordinate any kind of national emergency response, whether it be a threat, whether it be a disaster, whether it be a whatever it may be, right? We would have a government body that would be instituted. But again, when we have emergencies, right now, we don't really have a good first line of defense against emergencies. Like when hurricane come in, we don't have a system set up where we properly prepare people for these kinds of emergencies. People are told, bolt up your window and do all kind of these little basic things. Yes, and the people are the first line of defense. But if you don't have proper housing and proper defense against the elements and these kind of things, how are you going to prepare for emergencies, right? So this agency is going to be tasked with putting together emergency plans and preparing people and infrastructure to be able to support any kind of emergency that surfaces in the future, right? So as we go through this constitution, you will see the continuing factor of each agency has one duty. You do not have overlapping duties. You don't have overlapping power. You don't have nothing overlapping. You have one laser focused duty, and that's it. That is your job. That is what you do. That's it. So this is why the penalties are also so hefty. Because if you have one job to do and you don't have to be thinking about all these other things that are normally bestowed upon such institutions, then you have no reason to be messing up. Right? We have labor law, all things dealing with the workplace, intellectual property, civil law, transportation and infrastructure systems. So again, we cover just about everything within society, right? And they are all broken up into specific sections so that we don't have, this hodgepodge of foolishness going on where one agency is handling all of these different matters and you can't even get something done within a couple of days. Right, we have Criminal Justice Administration, where it talks about, how people are supposed to be treated if they are accused of a crime, right? And the system would support actually being treated innocent until unless or until you are proven guilty, right? So here, the presumption of innocence, this is what it means in the Constitution. Every person charged with a crime is presumed innocent until proven guilty. Unless proven guilty. You're innocent unless you're proven guilty. No person shall be treated as guilty before lawful conviction. Confinement, restraint, or violation of the natural right of freedom of movement must be justified by evidence of public or private harm warranting such actions. You see the difference? This is in clear, plain language. Nobody no have to try to figure out what that mean or what that mean to you or what that mean to the situation. You cannot confine someone unless there is evidence to justify the confinement. If somebody get up and stab up somebody, then yes, it may be justified to keep that person confined until they get a hearing in front of a judge. If you catch somebody do something where they're not supposed to do and you have evidence of it, yes, it may be justified, right? But until that evidence is presented, you can't just get up and just lock up everybody, so. No. Right? Lawful charge has to be based on something that is written in law, right? And it has to be based on evidence as well. So this system would completely depart from treating everybody like a criminal, right? Here we have judicial conduct and limits of judicial authority, right? So again, these things are defined in law so that we don't have what's called discretionary action, discretionary rulings, discretionary and arbitrary exercise of a power that doesn't exist in law. All right? Mandatory separation of powers, qualification, ascension of public office, family court. Okay, so some of these things, like family court judges and child custody principles, these were added over the past couple months, right? Many times we have judges ruling on matters that they don't have expertise on. They are using their work experience to judge every single matter, right? In this type of constitution, for example, this specific section of law, family law and child custody principles, judges assigned to family matters shall possess demonstrated competence in child development, family law, parental responsibility, child psychology and welfare, and trauma-informed judicial practice where applicable. So now we're setting the bar of requirements before a judge can listen to, adjudicate, or rule on anything related to children or family law. What do you think about having a translation in Patois as well later on for this document? Yeah, man, absolutely. Absolutely. It just, again, it's easier to do it first in English, but later on there will be a Patois translation. Right? No judge shall preside over family matters without meeting these requirements. Foundation of custody determination. A child has the right to care from both parents, stability and continuity of upbringing, and protection from harm. Right? Except where contrary is established by competent evidence. Everything in the judicial book, everything in law is now based on evidence. Both parents are assumed to contribute meaningfully to the child's healthy development. Equal starting position. In custody matters, both parents shall begin with equal constitutional status. No preference shall be given based on sex or status. Any deviation from equal parenting involvement must be based on proven facts and evidence. In this day and age, we cannot rely upon the opinions of somebody else. If you don't have facts that are verifiable and evidence, what is the point of having a judge decide anything? We have to move away from this judicial discretion nonsense. It has to be based on proven facts and evidence. Right? Here we have standard of determination. You know, in many jurisdictions now, child custody determinations are not mandatory based on standards. They can literally just tell you, say, well, I don't believe you. Well, you know, it look like you are not fit to be a parent. having primary custody or having equal custody or having this or having that. No standard then not follow. And if you don't have an attorney that demand that they make findings of fact and conclusions of law, they run circles around you. So here we would have clear standards that, especially in family cases, they would have to make a ruling that support all of these things: the welfare of the child, the parental capability, stability, continuity, demonstrated history of care. Right? It has to support these things. Right? And of course, you have all of these other requirements and elements that needs to be met. Here we have a legal threshold. No parent shall have less than 40% parenting time. The only exception is where there is harm demonstrated. Justin, lawful, greetings. Obviously, even though you have a constitutionally protected right to at least 40%, if you prove based on evidence, or if it is shown based on evidence that you are causing the child harm, distress, or some kind of negative effect, that can be reduced. But again, it has to be based on evidence, right? And it has to be proportional. And that is spelled out there. Here we have elder care, social support, and knowledge preservation. Like we talked about several months ago, imagine the amount of elderly people who just sit there until they expire. And they have all this knowledge that they could have passed on to the next generation. And it is wasted. It is disregarded. These people gone with the knowledge we then come here for, and acquire. That would change under the elder care program, right? Imagine communities of elders where elders can interact with each other. They can interact with their peers. They can share information. They can become mentors. They can record their experiences so that future generations can learn from them. Imagine that. Right? Imagine a program that provides health care to all of those people. Free. Right? Emergency services. Food and housing. A monthly stipend. It's not difficult. Right? Community-based living, healthcare access, monthly stipend, participation while working. If they still want to work, they can work and still be in the community program. But if they do, they would give up 50% of their earnings. Right? Because again, you don't have to work, but if you're going to work, it is not something where you can just live there and gain ascension to this big wealth because you don't have any expenses. It would recontribute back into the same system you're benefiting from. Right? So those who can't work, they obviously receive the benefits. Those who can and choose to work, in addition to being a part of that community, they would give up 50% of their earned income. Right? The program is voluntary. Right? If you don't want to be a part of the elder care program, you can just opt out. Knowledge transfer, like I say. Knowledge archive, national archive, protection from exploitation, administration and transparency. So this would be a complete, what we'd call a welfare system in the current economic environment. This would become a completely transformed institution that benefits the community. Right? Not just offer the very basics so you can just sit down and look. Right? Road safety, commercial transport, and private travel regulation. Right? Now, this is where we have a road safety force. So here we would have a road regulation force and they would not have arrest powers. Again, things on the road are strictly administrative and that would be their duty. Strictly administrative, right? For example, like we talk about, if you have like a broken mirror, broken headlight, them kind of something there, they would give you a warning so you get a chance to go fix it, right? They would not have any kind of arrest power, no kind of random stop power or anything. They can't investigate crime. They cannot act as a general police force and they cannot search anyone without court authority, right? So their powers would be very limited, strictly related to traffic and keeping people safe on the road, not to go around giving people tickets. As a matter of fact, a ticket is the last resort, right? Unless, of course, there's a blatant violation that is witnessed. Public peace service limitation, again, mentioned here. Public peace service shall not enforce ordinary road regulation. So, even though you'll see public peace service vehicles driving around, they cannot interfere with the duties of the PPS, of the RRF, or the Road Regulation Force. The public peace service is strictly crime related. So now you separate the two. You can't have the same agency regulating traffic and also investigating crime. You can see what happens when we do that today, right? So the PPS is permitted only where a crime is reported and the report contains complete identifying information and investigation is based on evidence, right? Road violations alone shall not create criminal jurisdiction nor authority for PPS. Right? So we have effectively split that authority in two, one criminal, one civil. Registration for commercial transport, right? We talk about that. National Insurance Fund. People, make we talk about this because I don't think we're gonna get it the last time. Imagine we have a national insurance fund, right? And that fund, it grows to a certain amount and it just sits there until we need it. So instead of having this insurance scheme where every month you pay or every 6 months you pay or every year you pay this big money, you don't have no accident, you don't have no reason to need the funds that you have contributed, but yet still you have to keep paying until you're no longer using the road. I think it's ridiculous. I think what we should have is a national road insurance fund. So when something happens, the fund cover it. Nobody benefits, right? Beyond the repair and beyond your hospital bill and them something there, right? It's just like, it would always throw money in a one bucket and when time somebody need it, the funds in that bucket cover it. We don't need to be throwing all the day of our life. We don't need to pay. Imagine that. We have a fund where, let's say all the way, everybody who is on the road, you contribute to it for 1 year and then you're done pay. Wouldn't that be amazing? Right? You contribute for a year, you stop pay. 5 years down the line, you contribute again for a year, you're done pay. That don't make sense. Most people don't get into an accident. So where does all that money go? Anyways, road rules. Road rules shall be limited to public safety. Speed limits shall be clearly posted for town roads and major territory roads. No person shall be penalized for a road rule that is not publicly posted, recorded, and accessible. Insurance companies pocket it, of course. Exactly. There shall be no speed limits for highway travel, except the half-mile mark for exits. Let me say that again. There shall be no speed limits for highway travel, except at the half-mile mark for exits. Can we take a moment to just think about how beautiful that would be? We already depend on the road, we already know how to travel, we already know how to drive. Why do we need speed limits? Even if someone decides to go at an accelerated rate, nobody is intentionally looking to exit this life. People are going to travel at a rate they feel that they can control the car. If you feel like the car a little bit out of control, where do you not slow it down? Do you keep going to see how fast the car can actually go? It is just ridiculous. If somebody decide that, all right, me want to go faster than you, or my vehicle can handle that speed, I mean, you're going to do that, right? But you're still going to handle the car in a certain way where you know, say, all right, I can slow down, or I know how far before I start slow down to get ready for exit, etc. Right? But to literally have speeds that... Anyways, I'm going to beat a dead horse. Exactly. We can also build a separate lane for those who want to, I don't know, test the limits of the car, or have a speedway somewhere. Build a speedway couple places on the island. People can go and them can test them car speed, if that is what you want, right? Again, we're not promoting reckless driving or reckless traveling, but at the same time, speed limits make no sense. Everybody do not travel at the same speed. Everybody intends to maneuver the car in some way that they can control it. Why they make the car so fast if it's not supposed to go that speed on roads? It's almost like legal entrapment. Right. Because it's not like they can't make the car them slower. They certainly can. They can limit the speed, but they don't. And just make laws around it. Right? So under this constitution, there will be no speed limits on the highway. You know, I had someone bring up the ridiculous idea the other day, again, about, people keep conflating these matters. When we say certain things police are not supposed to be concerned with, right? There's a reason. You have traffic police, you have special agents, you have, all different types of police for different purposes. If we say the police are not supposed to harass people on the road, is that the only thing the police then do? Is that their only duty? And even so, I guarantee you, if all the police come off of the road, nothing would happen. People just go about their business. There wouldn't be more accidents, because police now prevent accident. In fact, if police come on the road, most likely they are going to slow down traffic. They are going to cause congestion. So it's not even a question about the police interfering with traffic. If people feel like they want to go somewhere faster, they should have the right to do so. Again, it is a right. Freedom of movement. Right? All cars and vehicles are required to stay in the left lane when not overtaking, which is what we currently do, right? Where water, rain, or unsafe conditions are obvious, highway automobile speeds shall be limited to 60 kilometers per hour maximum, or lower speeds if safety is at risk due to visibility and ability to safely control the automobile. Right? So again, we do have some limits. That makes sense. If it a rain, or if there is low visibility and all of that, it is obvious. You have a limit, 60 kilometers per hour. Right? So King Bad Word say, what is this? This is a new constitutional draft. Equipment safety standards. What was this? Warning system. Now we currently don't have this. This would make sense. A public record automobile warning system shall be implemented and set into operation within 1 year of establishment of this constitution. This record system serves to record all road violations and warnings as well as penalty enforcement. Records shall be publicly available by website search. Right? So, again, instead of punishing people at the first sight of anything, we would have a warning system. You have an opportunity to fix the issue. Right? Just like if the other day somebody mirror get broken off. You can't fix it right away. You don't have the tools, you don't have the parts, you don't have nothing at all. You have to give people a chance. Right? This is not to punish people. This is to ensure that we have equal rights and you give fairness of law. So if there's a problem with a car or a vehicle, you give them a chance to fix it. You don't ticket them. Right? In regards to any road user, partial non-functioning safety equipment shall result in a record warning and no fee. The operator shall have 30 days to repair the issue after warning. The warning issued by the RRF officer shall state the defect observed, the date and time issued, deadline to repair, method or procedure for clearing the warning, and attach a still picture or video of the equipment failure or violation. Right? That used to be a mechanic ticket. No fine shall be issued for the same violation or warning during the repair period or grace period, unless the vehicle creates immediate danger. For example, here we have gross non-compliance. This includes both headlights not functioning, both brake lights non-functioning, complete brake failure, unsafe tires, such as severely low threading, creating immediate danger, car or vehicle operation after deactivation of license or failure to clear violation. So here we have the exceptions where these are things that we would call gross non-compliance, right? Where it would result in a fine. And in some cases, you are directed to take the car to the nearest repair shop immediately, or it will be towed to the nearest repair shop. So that way, you have a chance. You have a chance to go and get the issue fixed. You don't just get up, issue ticket, left, right, center, ticket. Oh, I mean, you get 3 days to fix and report to the station and show it's fixed. Oh, that's called a mechanic ticket. Okay, another current system. Okay. Repair verification. Again, you can't just tell people, say, yeah, man, it fixed. It has to be verified. Fines and non-payment, traffic cameras. So again, we cover all aspects of these issues. And here we have a National Road and Safety Institute, NRSI, right? And this would be the driving school, right? You have driving for commercial drivers, existing commercial drivers are new ones, and you have private travelers, right? And you can go, you get the instructions, and you also take the test. Talk about non-interchangeable license, fees and taxation, etc., etc. Right? So I implore everyone to go and take a look. Oh, we never talk about the whenever I talk about the crimes and penalties, I think it's a standard. Enumeration of crimes. So you have different types of crimes and how it would be classified. And here we have the criminal penalties. Right, they cut that out. Okay. So, we talked about this before. And these criminal penalties, again, are severe in some cases, but it is proportional to the crime. We cannot keep on just putting people in a box. Under this system, we would remove the prisons. All prisons would be abolished. We would have what we would consider holding centers or rehabilitation institutions, right? Where that is where they would sleep, right? If you are convicted of a crime, that is just where you would sleep and refresh yourself and get food and so forth. However, during the day, you would be a productive member of society. You would be unsupervised working duty on daily tasks throughout Jamaica, whether it be building roads, chopping down bush, planting, whatever it is. No. For people who unalive people, there are more severe punishment. You have hanging in the town square, you have lifetime servitude, or you have death by execution. Right? So there are different levels of punishment, and it is proportional to what exactly you do or what exactly you're convicted of. Put it that way. So the first level is, well, the introduction talks about minors, right? 11 years and older will face adult penalties, and minors of age 10 and younger would face mental health rehabilitation, right? Restricted public duty is what we just talked about. You would be confined within society to work off your penalty, right? Sounds primitive, but could be effective. You wrote this. This is from submissions made by people in the public. I just put it in plain language. I think some crime, the criminal should work and pay the family of the person that the crime was done. Well, that can also be a problem, right? Because the victims or the victims' families may not want anything to do with a criminal. So that criminal will be punished generally within society. We can't, and not to say we can't, but that would create a conflict, especially where the family don't want to participate in any of that. They just want to see that individual face justice, right? So this is a general benefit to society. So the punishment is intended to restore and rebuild the nation in a positive and productive way, right? You have removal of organs, the private parts. For those, this is a punishment reserved only for sexual crimes. So rapists and them kind of people, pedos and them kind of people, yeah, surgically remove it. Right? I said to help care for the kids that are left behind. No, man, the system is set up where if there is assistance needed for any family, that would be provided. So that wouldn't have anything to do with the criminal. Right? Since you have misused it. Right. So the organ would be removed for those kind of people. And there would be a tattoo of an X made between the eyes permanently and publicly identifying such criminals. This punishment is also paired with restricted public duty after recovery. Right? Or they used to cut the vein back in the day. How you say? All time something come back again. Here we have removal of limb, arm or leg. This is for violent robbery, armed breaking and entering, violent assault, violent attempted unaliving or unaliving, right? A surgeon or qualified professional will carry out this task as humanely as possible. This punishment is also paired with restricted public duty, right? Finger crushed by hammer. This punishment is possible for robbery, armed breaking, breaking and entering, and or theft. The offender shall be strapped to a chair. Right? Once that is done, 1 year minimum restricted public duty. Serve as a concurrent sentence. Right? If the property is stolen and cannot be returned or is refused return, more severe penalties shall be instituted. Right? We talk about hanging in the town square. Punishment of hanging in by neck in the town square is a punishment for convicted unalivers, serial unalivers, or anyone who takes the life of another intentionally, as well as those who assist in such acts. Right? So anybody who involved in unaliving, town square for you. Lifetime servitude of restricted public duty. This is a punishment for fraudsters, scammers, swindlers, anarchists, treasonous conduct against the Constitution, high crimes, and public officials who misuse their office, causing severe or widespread public harm. Death by execution. The punishment of death by execution means the termination of the life of a convicted criminal found to have committed unalivings or other extreme actions against the public, such as buggery, violent assault, violent rape, slavery, torture, prolonged deprivation of rights, etc. This sentence may be carried out by lethal injection or firing squad. Right? So again, you don't have this long list of penalties. Literally, 3 pages, little bit, 2 pages and little bit. Right? And when criminals see these things happening, it is no doubt they will not want to continue whatever it is they are doing. But if we're just going to lock them up in our box and they know that they're going to get 3 square meals a day without doing anything, what is to stop them? What is to stop them? So we're not going to do that anymore. Right? For those who are able, you go out there, go work for the nation, work for free. The only thing you're entitled to is clothing and food and the shelter. Right? So you sleep at night, fine. But at daytime, you're out and about working. Supervised. Right? You know, you have the shock ankles and those kind of things. Yeah. You institute that, so if them go out of the perimeter, them get shocked. Simple. Right, so again, it is quite extensive. It touches every single thing. Everything we can think of. Here's one of the more important things. Everybody learn self-defense. Everybody learn how to use them firearm. Everybody learn how to protect them home. Protect everything that is around you. As them say, if everybody know how to do it, nobody no superior. Right? So take the time, pick a section and start reading. The articles are not very long. Many of them are 5 pages or less. Like this self-defense article, 5 pages. You don't need to read the 361 pages, even though you can, but you don't need to. Just pick something that piques your interest. Again, to get to this document, which is the constitutional draft, you go to voiceofjamaica.com, right? When you get there, this is what you will see. As you can see, voiceofjamaica.com, right? You scroll down and you click on the first post that you see. You click on that, and here you have the constitutional draft, right? And you can peruse it. You can look at the various sections. You can see the Declaration of Independence and all of these different things that is associated with the draft. All right. So this week, I'm hoping by Wednesday, I will have many of the upgraded features available, including the table of contents is going to be corrected and updated to all of the current sections that we have. The manuals for the different agencies are also going to be included. So when you're going to be able to click on a title and go straight to the article, right? And the page numbers are also going to be updated and so forth. But again, the draft is complete, just the little prettying up and polishing up. And then we're going to be getting out some consumables so that people can have a general idea of what this thing is all about and how we can stand behind and support what is to come at stage 3. Welcome to stage 2, right? So I'm not going to promise tomorrow, but certainly on Wednesday, we're going to be looking into what the manuals look like and what the completed draft entails. And from there, we're going to bring awareness to this document because it is where our power begins. This is the very first document of its kind in the world. And if it wasn't for each and every one of you who have contributed and allowed us to reach this far, all I did was convert it from legal language into plain language, right? And we are going to continue to build and move forward. Again, don't worry about implementation. That is where everybody's focus is, right? How are we going to get this done? How are we going to implement it? How are we going to... Don't worry about that. We just want awareness and education around this thing. Because if you're intelligent enough to realize what this thing would do for us as a nation, as a people, that is where things begin. A lot of people have tools and then can't use it. They don't know how to use it. We're trying to eliminate that. First, we need awareness. We need attention for those who find it useful. And then we can talk about moving forward. All right? So big up on yourself. And I'll see you either tomorrow evening or Wednesday. Lawful, always.